All right, here we go. This is a huge update and probably one of the longest patch notes I've seen in a long time, if not the longest patch notes. But it is a tradition on my channel to go through these. So if you're interested in a longer form video where I discuss the patch notes and talk about the things that we tested today on the test server, I played with PUBG Andy, who works for PUBG, always has so much insight into the game. Honestly, I feel like we should have a little podcast that comes out with every update because he's able to answer so many additional questions. But for now, I'll be able to kind of give that information to you guys. And we also tested out some things with fellow streamer QBZ. And I'm trying something different this time around. I'm also making some short form videos for people that aren't interested in this long form content. But because this is long, I'm going to get right into it. So this is update 15.2. And this is the update where PUBG is going free to play. So that's on January 12th. And right now, this is going to be an update for both PC and console. So this update is happening at the same time, which makes sense. It'd be pretty bad for the update to be late on console or for marketing, right? For it to go free to play on PC on the 12th and then a week later for console like they normally do. It just really wouldn't work out that way. But unfortunately, Andy said there's no information about whether that's going to continue, and most likely not, and that going forward, console will still be a week later, which is a huge disappointment for us console players, because it would be really nice for that to happen at the same time. But at least this update is happening at the same time. And something I wanted to point out here, because I almost thought this was a typo, that this time around, the maintenance schedule is actually going to be for 2 days. So PUBG is not going to be playable on PC or console or on the test server from Monday, January 10th, Monday, January 10th to the update, which is still to be determined on January 12th. So Andy told us that we should expect around 48 hours of maintenance. Obviously, sometimes things can take longer if there's an issue. Things can be quicker if things go smoothly. But this kind of shows that this is really a huge update. We're going to see changes to the menu system, back end parts of the game now that it's free to play. Gameplay core changes like action queuing, so many additions to the game, basically a new map with training mode. There's so much in this update that I was arguing this is probably the biggest update ever in PUBG, or maybe the second behind when PUBG added Intego and a bunch of new features. This is right up there, maybe top 2, top 3 biggest updates in PUBG history. So this is major, and it's showing here with the downtime. So now that we got that out of the way, one of the first new items in the game is a tactical gear drone, the scout drone as I've been calling it. And this was kind of teased by PUBG for a long time now. It seemed like they had used an image of the drone in some pictures of Kiki, which is the futuristic map coming out later this year. Then PUBG was kind of leaking that this was coming out. So people were expecting this, but I think a lot of people, including myself, were still surprised to see it in PUBG. And honestly, I was expecting it to be a feature maybe only for one map, but this is going to be on every map, not in ranked, but this will be available on all the maps. And if you want a detailed breakdown of this, I have a separate video on my channel that's going to be going over all this stuff. It might be out a little after this one, or hopefully it's already posted. But basically the gist of this is it has 2 main features. So feature 1 is that you can actually pick up items with the drone, but you can only pick up one item. So you can pick up a weapon, a vest, a helmet, anything along those lines, and you can fly around with it. You hold X on controller to pick it up, and you can drop it by pressing X. So this is really cool. We were testing out things like QBZ ran off and was fighting some bots, and Andy brought him a fresh vest, which was pretty funny. You could find a C4 that's on a roof, pick it up, and bring it to yourself. So that is really awesome. But again, only one item. So it's not like I found a barrel on a roof. I tried to get the gun, but then you got to go back and get the ammo, and then you got to drop the drone. The drone does take up a primary weapon slot. So you do have to sacrifice a whole slot, just like the new EMT bag, which we'll talk about soon, or the mortar cannon on Tego. So that's cool. You can also pick up the bicycle, but you can't pick up any other vehicles, and you can't take any weapons out of the care package, which to me makes sense because this thing is super fast. You'd be able to just make it to the care package before anybody else steal the stuff and leave. And then also, if you're asking or wondering, you cannot attach a C4 to the drone. Andy was saying they tested that out before this went live on the test server, and it was way too overpowered. They took a C4 on the drone and flew it into the apartment buildings on Erangel and killed a bunch of people. And they're like, there's just no way to counter that. So I think that is a fair balance to not include that. But basically, it has low health. You can shoot it down. It lights up like this, green and red lights. It blinks, and has a 300-meter limit. And that's what you would imagine a drone to be. You go into the drone, your player stops moving, you can fly around. If you go too far, the drone will crash. But what's cool is it actually shows a little marker that the drone has crashed, and you can go and recover it, repair it, and keep flying. So I'm sure I've missed a few things in here, but again, if you want a better, more detailed breakdown, I'll have a separate video about this. But overall, I was pretty worried about PUBG adding in a drone, and I think they implemented this pretty well. So big kudos to PUBG for doing this. Honestly, I had a lot of fun using it. And if you're thinking, is this something that's going to be a gimmick? A lot of people are asking that in the chat, like this is just going to be another gimmick. I really think it's going to be beneficial for scouting out other compounds. There was one instance where even though we were playing against mostly bots, we had made it into the circle late because we were messing around. And I was able to kind of check out the compounds near us to see where we wanted to rotate to. And that alone was pretty valuable. There's so many times when you don't see anybody at a compound, you show up, you die, and you're like, that's the end of the game. But if someone in your team sacrifices a weapon slot and can scout out the compounds, I feel like that's actually pretty valuable. But again, that's just everyone's opinion. But I really think these two tactical gear items are going to be used, unlike the mortar cannon and unlike the trunk space in the Porter truck on Tego, which a lot of people have been calling them gimmicks. No, don't do it again. Don't do it again. Don't do it again. No. So next up, we have the tactical gear, and this is EMT gear, and this item is way more than I expected. I was actually pretty shocked by this, and before I even read what this says and all that stuff, I'm just going to tell you guys what we did, because we played for a couple hours this morning using this. So again, this takes up a primary weapon slot, and then you have the tactical gear bag on you. Once you have the tactical gear bag, you can actually have the ability to heal your teammates. And I think you have to have it out. I'm sure it clarifies here when you're healing a teammate, but you go up to a teammate, you can actually heal them with first aids and bandages. And what's really special about this is when you use a first aid bandage, whether it's on yourself or on a teammate, it actually brings them to 100% health like they're using a med kit. And you can actually use bandages to bring someone to 100% health. And if you use a med kit, it also gives them a full boost like an adrenaline syringe. So not only are you getting more health from this, but it also works faster. So you can use a first aid kit in 3 seconds, which I forget how long a first aid takes. I think it's like 8 to 10 seconds. And then if your teammate is knocked and you have the EMT bag, you can pick them back up in 3 seconds. So again, people are asking, is this a gimmick? Is somebody really going to sacrifice a weapon for this EMT bag? But check out this scenario that we talked about with Andy and QBZ. So in a normal game, if your teammate goes down, it takes about 10 seconds to revive them, and then another 10 seconds for them to get to 75% health by using a first aid. If you have the EMT gear bag, you can pick them up in 3 seconds, and then in another 3 seconds, you can get them back to 100% health with a first aid. So in 6 seconds, they can be back to 100% health versus 20 seconds back to 75% health. So it's a 14-second difference to get somebody back. And plus they have the extra 25 health. So I feel like that is a huge additional feature. And again, if you have a player on your team that's not as great at the game or wants to play a support role or doesn't like sniping, the EMT bag or the tactical drone, the scout drone, can be a really great option. And I was even thinking about it. There's probably going to be some sweat players who are going to rock a barrel or an M4 4 times in solos, have an EMT bag, and they're going to be healing themselves back to 100 health in 3 seconds. And they're going to be pretty unstoppable. It's like a one-man Terminator. I'm definitely going to be doing that. Or imagine a player with a scout drone, an EMT bag, and a Scorpion as a pistol. It's going to be a pretty fun thing to do. And again, I feel like it's pretty balanced because it really does take up that whole weapon slot. And I feel like PUBG did a good job of implementing this into the game. So I'm working on this video too, but it might not be out when this video is posted. Then we have the basic training modes. So this was also kind of leaked and presented to the PUBG partners beforehand, or not even leaked, but kind of previewed early. And unfortunately, the full version of this isn't available yet. There's still some other training modes that PUBG is going to be adding in, like the sound training and another one where it tests your shooting ability. But right now, the basic training is in the game for new players. You can go in, it tells you how to pick up weapons, you know, climb, do all that kind of stuff, throw a grenade, cook a grenade, and all the stuff that basic players need to do. And I'm being told here that the new players, if you're just logging into the game for the very first time and you have a brand new account, you're going to have to play the AI training matches before you get into a real match. So there are 10 matches. That is kind of a lot. But I really feel like this AI training mode where you can play 1 versus 99 bots is going to be great for a lot of players. Some people disagree with this kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, I've been seeing a lot of great feedback on social media and on my YouTube channel about the casual mode. I've heard from Andy that PUBG has seen a lot of good feedback from the casual mode and a lot of people playing it. But then I've also heard that people are still getting destroyed by veteran players who are going into casual mode because there's 12 other humans allowed or 11 other humans allowed in the casual mode. So I feel like this is going to be a great way for players that want to practice in a safer environment, I guess if you want to use it like that, against only bots. So I think this is really cool and is pretty much a must for PUBG going free to play and for new players, because this game really is difficult to learn and takes a while. So I feel like that's a fair way. And honestly, most games, especially on PC, maybe not in the shooter genre, but a lot of games that I've played in the past, like League of Legends, they have a mode where you kind of, when you join into the game as a new player, you have to play against bots before you play against real opponents or before you play ranked. So this might be new for console players or might sound lame, but this is something that a lot of games do. And I really feel like it's worth it because you have a better chance of kind of turning that player into a long-term player if you give them the tools and the tutorials to help them learn the game and become a better player. Also, training mode got a little bit of love now. Now, no matter where you are in the training mode, you can just hold the menu button or back, and it will pull up all of the items in the game that you can attach right away, and you can adjust your sensitivities on the fly instead of having to hold start down, go to your sensitivities, or drive back to the area and pick up more ammo. So I feel like this is just an amazing addition to the game because it makes training mode pretty frustrating when you can't, you have to keep going back and it's pretty slow. The practice range, I didn't see this in the game when I was playing, but I guess it is in here. But I thought that some of these maybe weren't included, but it looks like this was. I skimmed through the patch notes, obviously a few times this morning, but then I went and played for a couple of hours with Andy because I figured the best way to figure out what's in the update is to check it out. Then we have action queuing, which I made a video about this, and honestly, this is such a great addition. It's a small thing, but to me, it's a core gameplay feature that is a game changer. And the best way to describe this is that this is a feature where it queues up what buttons you're using in the game. So it queues up the next button action. So if you're wondering, what does that mean? Well, a lot of times if you were new to PUBG, you might remember when you would reload a gun, or maybe this still happens to you. You reload a gun and you go to hold R to fire and nothing happens. That's because there's no action queuing and it's not queuing up the next action from holding X to reload to R to firing. So you have to fully reload and then hit R. It has to be two separate actions. But with action queuing, the game will actually know that you're holding X, hitting R, and then hitting L. So it will do those things immediately. So what's cool here is now you can reload and then hit both triggers, aim down sights and the fire trigger, and it will immediately do that as soon as the reload is done, and it won't just pause and you won't be standing there not shooting. This will also affect the game when you're trying to jump, get into cars, climbing through windows and then trying to shoot again, jumping and shooting, falling from a building and then shooting. There's so many times where people would fall from a building and then hold the trigger button, nothing happens. A lot of issues like that in PUBG were caused by action queuing, and this is going to fix that. So honestly, amazing addition to the game. It's kind of sad that we had to wait this long for that addition, but it really is a great addition. And again, will make it easier for new players to learn the game. Then we have a Winchester and VSS improvements. The Winchester now, the scope folds over so you can use the iron sights. Kind of similar situation with the VSS. You can now attach a canted sight to it so you can use it more effectively at close range, which is pretty cool. I was able to test that, and it did make the VSS a little better close range. Winchester still kind of stinks, so it is what it is. The winter mode in Cacao Friends is now gone. Down but not out balance, not something I really tested. I noticed it a little bit with the bots, but basically they wanted to lengthen the going into down but not out animation time from 1 second to 1.5 seconds. So this kind of is almost like making you invulnerable. Well, it is making you invulnerable for an extra half second. So basically, as you're getting knocked, you can't just get like insta flushed or insta thirsted. You wait, you get knocked and then you get shot. So this is increasing that a little bit, which will hopefully prevent people from just getting insta thirsted. Nobody loves getting insta thirsted when you're playing, especially like in the casual mode. It's part of the game, you know, get thirsted, doesn't matter. But you know, it stinks when you're a new player and you get taken out. So they're trying to make that a little bit better. And then they've also extended the bleed times a little bit and added in a few more categories here. And they've increased the movement speed so players can move around a little bit more when knocked. It says sniper rifle, guns, and crossbows, including the Winchester, are not affected by the DBNO balance, down but not out. And that makes sense because the sniper is actually kind of frustrating. You can like insta flush somebody with a vector in like half a second, but you can snipe somebody twice with the sniper and they don't get flushed because you could hit them in the butt or in the foot or something. And it's very frustrating when you snipe somebody far away and you're trying to confirm the kill. So next we have the improved screen ping marker. But basically, you guys know what this is. This was in PUBG a long time ago and is in many other games. Now, when you quick mark, it will actually leave a marker in the physical game. So you can actually see what people are talking about. Instead of just saying, oh, they're in the third window, you can actually mark the middle window or third window, whatever you want to call out, and the marker will show up for all other players. And this was awesome. I don't really remember when PUBG did this. I kind of do. I vaguely remember not liking it, but I had really no issues with this. It seemed to be not so obtrusive, or obtrusive. Is that the right word? And when you aim down sights, the marker seemed to clear out a little bit or kind of gray, and it didn't really get in the way. It also seemed to kind of stay out of the ways of windows and stuff like that. There was a few instances where the marker was in the window or in the way, and we tested it out, and I feel like it's not going to cause that much of a problem. It's really going to be one of those things where I think it's more beneficial than it does hurt the game, and you're just going to have to remind your teammates to clear the markers, because if you have too many markers in a compound, it might clutter the map a little bit. But this is a great way for players, again, this is only going to be in normals, not in ranked, to communicate where enemies are, better for new players. And even for veteran players, it's not very easy to learn the call outs and describe everything and, express to your teammates where you're trying to call out or what you're talking about. And I even noticed that it's better at pinging items now. Before, if you pinged like a sniper rifle, you didn't know what floor it is. Now you can tell the sniper rifle is on the third floor, the second floor. And overall, in my opinion, from playing for 4 hours today, I thought this was an awesome change and didn't really have any issues with it. But again, something that you're going to have to try. The maps in the game have all been changed. They're now more realistic. It's hard to say or hard to see here because they're just showing you a small image. But when you hit back on the map, all of the maps look way more detailed now and darker and more realistic. And overall, just a net positive. It looks weird, but just shows so much more information now with the topography of the map, and also a little bit more detail with the buildings and stuff like that and the bridges. So overall, this is a great addition to the game. They're just showing the before and after. We have a new lobby screen here. We're going to go through all this stuff. Patch notes area. The whole lobby is way different. Actually, I can go back to it for a second. It's actually really nice because pretty much everything now is in the front page. So we have the game information on the bottom left. Players can clearly see there's 2 game modes. Again, for new players, as veteran players, you might not remember that PUBG is kind of confusing with all this stuff, the different game modes. So now I feel like you can quickly grasp there's missions going on. I have some notifications in the top right. Bottom left, there's all these different game modes, quick join, TPP, FPP, everything's right there. So I feel like this is way better, and hopefully it will perform okay on console, because console famously has some issues with the menu screen, to say the least. And then we have some ranked authentication system. I don't know if that's for console or just for PC. We got the lobby theme. This is kind of a bummer. The Xbox Cloud Gaming Service is over because PUBG is no longer part of Gamepass now. And obviously for PUBG going free to play, they had to kind of end all these contracts, which is so interesting because we talked about this forever. I speculated that PUBG, well, it wasn't speculation. PUBG obviously had contracts with Google and Xbox, but this is part of the reason why PUBG, couldn't just randomly go free to play at any time. And from Andy, who works at PUBG, was kind of giving some information today that there is so much behind the scenes that is going into play here with PUBG to make it go free to play. It's not just like flip of the switch, it's free to play now. There's actually so much going on at their company to get the game ready and add in new features and dealing with other companies, Xbox, PlayStation, PC, and getting support for all this stuff. So it's been a pretty big initiative for them, and they're very proud of it. That's why it was a big announcement for them. But I saw that a lot of people kind of memed this on social media because they're just going free to play. But it's actually a lot more than meets the eye there. And then a bunch of bug fixes, which I'm not going to go through everything here. So hopefully, I don't think that was too bad. Normally, these are around 20 minutes anyways. This definitely could be longer. I skipped a bunch of stuff here, but I just wanted to go over the key points. And if you want to take a deep dive on some of the new things, like the action queuing, like the drone, check out some of my recent videos. I'm trying to make some shorter ones for people that are into that content. So really, again, reminder, servers down Monday, Tuesday. Wednesday is going to be really exciting. For me, as someone that streams and creates content, I love that PUBG is adding in all of these new features. It just gives us more stuff to do. I think I trust PUBG with how they've been putting this stuff in the game. The drone could have easily be implemented in a you know, really futuristic, lame way. I know some people don't want it to take a weapon slot, but I feel like that kind of stops it from being overpowered and just seeing a million drones flying everywhere and all this stuff. It's not really like that when you play. And I feel like just more tools, more content for fun moments. And really, PUBG has left the past in the past. Before, PUBG was stuck in the past, and now they're sending it into the future with new items. Blue Zone Grenade, I've talked about this a couple times, the self-res, the jammer bag. And I think they're trying to help the game into the future a little bit, but also keep it classic PUBG. And really, PUBG, as we know, has not been doing well over the past few years and is obviously on a little bit of a decline, even though it's still doing well. And PUBG still sees new players entering the game to this day, especially on console. But they do need to try new features. So to me, full send or bust in 2022 for me and for PUBG. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video and enjoy playing some of the new features in PUBG. If you want to catch the action live, make sure you guys are following me on twitch.tv/blitz5 and friends. And if you still somehow made it to the end of this long video, I truly appreciate it. Drop a like or dislike, you know, be honest. It's okay. I appreciate the feedback. And as always, thank you all for watching on Blitz5 and peace out.